Chloe,
Yes,
I guess the only people that aren't are going to be with us today, Ms. Johnson and Mr. Flug.
that's all I'm aware of. Yes,
Okay, thank you. We'll get started in just a minute. Anything else?
that's it. Looks like we're up on YouTube. We're recording, so whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Planning Commission meeting in the city of Charleston of August 18th, 2021. My name is Charlie Carish. I'm chairman of the commission. With me today, since we're meeting by Zoom, I'll announce the members of the commission that are with us: Mr. Jimmy Bailey, Ms. Laquita Bryant Jenkins, Ms. Erica Harrison, Ms. Donna Jacobs, Ms. Sunday Lampasas, Mr. Harry Lassane. And just so you know, there's two members that won't be with us today, Mr. Sean Flug and Ms. Angie Johnson. So, you know, we're volunteers of the city of Charleston, appointed by Charleston City Council. I know all of you share with me, thanking them for their work on behalf of our great city, along with the city councilmen we have. As I said, Ms. Johnson will be with us today. Unfortunately, her father passed away. I think I sent an email out that he passed away after an illness. And I wanted to do a moment of silence in his memory. And I've got his name, and please, I'm gonna try to pronounce it. So we'll do a moment of silence in memory and in honor of Ramesh Doshi, the father of Angie Johnson. Thank you. The way we're going to conduct this meeting is I will read an item into the agenda, and then I'll ask staff to elaborate on the item and give us a recommendation. And then we'll ask anyone, the applicant, to speak on the application. And then we'll ask anyone in favor of the application to speak, and then anyone opposed to the application to speak. Then we'll give the applicant a right to an opportunity to answer any concerns of the people that are opposed to the application. After that, we'll close the public aspect of the meeting, and commission members will discuss and make a motion and vote on. Mr. Morgan, I'll ask you to, Christopher Morgan, I'll ask you to introduce any members of the staff that will be participating today, as well as let us know if there's any changes to the agenda.
All right, get myself unmuted here. Okay, and you all should be seeing the share screen, full screen with the planning commission slide. Do you all see that?
Yes, sir.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so you've introduced the commission, and our staff members here today are myself. I'm planning manager in the Department of Planning, Preservation, and Sustainability. We also have our zoning administrator, Lee Batchelder. Philip Overcash, our senior planner, is helping out. I believe Anna Harp is on, our senior zoning planner. Chloe Stuber, our planner, is on, and as always, our clerk, excuse me, is Marcy Grant.
Any updates to the agenda? Everything we have is coming forward.
Yeah, so everybody, just so everybody knows that based on the published agenda, there were some changes. And in the original published agenda, we had 806 Magnolia Road that has been deferred, and 518 East Bay Street that has been deferred. So you all will not be hearing those tonight.
Great, thank you, Mr. Morgan. With that being said, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. The first item is under rezonings properties. Number one is properties on Cumberland Street, Church Street, and Lingard Street, downtown Peninsula, TMS number 45805, 03, 089, 090, 091, 093, and 087, approximately 0.68 acres. Request rezoning from general business, GB, to mixed use workforce housing, MU2, WH. Mr. Morgan.
Okay, so this property is a combination of a number of different lots. I guess 5 different lots here. They are in the midst of the French Quarter neighborhood. They are in the past have been commercially used, and the request is to go to the mixed use workforce housing MU2WH category. These parcels are also zoned with accommodations overlay, and the applicant is asking to, excuse me, to remove that accommodations overlay as a goodwill gesture to the neighborhood, excuse me, to show their seriousness about having a mixed use on this property and not a hotel. So it's about 2/3 of an acre, and we will go through some slides on this. I apologize. I have a little coughing fit here. Let's see if some water will help that.
You're just nervous because your kids are starting high school, that's all.
That's right. That's right. They've got me choked up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go into some slides here. This is, we've grouped these two together for you. So this is slide number 2 that also relates to the accommodations overlay. And you can see how the accommodations is all through this area around the market. And so this would be the first subtraction from this area in a very, very long time. So that is significant, and I think has helped curry some favor for this rezoning with the neighborhood and nearby neighbors. In the Century 5 plan, which is our current plan, because our new one that you all have recommended for adoption has not moved forward yet, it does show this as urban core, which is the MU2 workforce housing would be in keeping with that urban core type of designation, which has the most intense uses in it. This is an image of the parcels. There's a parking lot at the corner of State and Cumberland, as well as an older 1-story commercial building here, 2-story buildings over in this area around the courtyard, and a 2- or 3-story building at this corner, and a vacant lot on Lingard. And here are some images again of the properties along here, along Cumberland. And this is now gone. This was a building that was on the Lingard lot that was torn down a few years ago. I'm not sure the date of this aerial image. And here is the street view. This is Cumberland running east-west, and this is Church Street running north-south. And this is an old Bocce's restaurant, was the restaurant that was in here. So this area, I hope you all can see my cursor here, is area in white, as well as the red brick building, are all part of the rezoning, as well as these 2-story buildings along here going all the way down Cumberland. And here's the parking lot that's at the corner of State and Cumberland that would be part of it. You also see the new hotel that's going up immediately adjacent to it. So this is a very recent street view. So we are recommending approval of both of these applications to request to go to the MU2 workforce housing, as well as the removal of the accommodations overlay.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. That's really a significant piece of property there. So, Chloe, who do we have? I see we have several people. I don't know who, whether Mr. Hellman or Mr. Wilson, who'll be speaking on this.
Mr. Chairman, you're going to have Brian Hellman, maybe James Wilson as well speaking, and thank you, Chairman Karish and members of the Planning Commission. I think Christopher Morgan did a great job of his overview here for this site, and quite frankly, it marks a first for me. I don't think I've ever brought a site to any board or commission or council in the city of Charleston, or anywhere for that matter, where we've taken a property such as this one, where there's already an approved 50-room hotel that the BZA has approved, and we're effectively trying to unwind that hotel and instead build residential. So as part of that, we're here to seek this rezoning to go from general business to MU to workforce housing, and removing it from the accommodations overlay. And I don't know if any individual property owner has ever requested that before. I can't recall any time that's been done. We've always tried to bring them into the accommodations overlay, but the plan here is to actually build a mixed use project that would include residential, probably somewhere in the mid 30s in terms of the unit count. It would have to be, ultimately engineered to figure out the exact number, but somewhere in the mid to lower 30s is where the unit count equates. And as you can see, it's the better part of a city block. So it's a large project. There'll be restoration of the historic buildings that are there, and a really nice project. So I can go into detail on that, but I really think that the overview that Mr. Morgan gave really helps everyone understand that it's pretty straightforward to go to the BZA and get a special exception. It's a one-stop shop to build a hotel to compete with a hotel. It really takes in most cases downtown a zoning to MU2 workforce to build something that really works in an area such as this and can make it happen. So we appreciate your time tonight and hopefully your support so that we can actually unwind a hotel and build a residential development.
Thank you, Mr. Hellman. Anyone else from your team going to speak?
Only I think if you have any questions, unless Mr.
Okay.
Wilson wants to chime in.
All right. Well,
No, thank you. But thank you to the board members for having us here tonight.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. So there's no one signed up to speak in favor or opposed and no written comments. Is that correct, Chloe?
That's correct.
Okay. That being said, this will close the public aspect of this, and we'll have commission members discuss it, ask questions, make a motion. As I said, this is a significant piece of property. Everyone knows where it is downtown, and for downtown, it's a big piece of property. So we applaud y'all's efforts to unwind the hotel, which doesn't seem to be so popular these days. Commission members, questions, comments, or motions?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Jacobs, you go ahead.
is it procedurally correct that we could take both 1 and 2 together, or do we have to vote on them separately?
Mr. Morgan?
Yes, I think it's fine, as long as you make it clear in your motion that the motion is for both cases.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you. So
I see
think
Harry, I see
Mr.
Harry's hand up, so I'm
Yeah.
going to hold on in case he had a question.
Harry, you go ahead, Mr. Lassane.
Thank you,
think
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
And I don't want to beat Ms. Jacobs to the punch, but I was just going to voice my support for this, particularly the MU2 workforce housing zoning. We all know that this part of town needs more residents, and it's a great place for people who work in the hospitality businesses in this part of town to be able to live. So I think this is wonderful, and I will support it. And Ms. Jacobs, if you would like to make a motion, I will support it.
So we're going to just bat this back and forth. I figured that I figured since everything was worked out that was problematic last commission, I wanted to just try to put this together and make a motion that we accept staff's recommendation for rezonings number 1, which is to change the GB to workforce housing, and to accept staff's recommendation for number 2 to remove this property from the accommodations overlay zone.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. And Mr. Lassane, I guess I can take that you go second the motion?
Yes, sir. I'll second it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from commission members? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey,
I in favor.
Ms. Bryant Jenkins.
I in favor.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Harrison.
I in favor.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs.
I in favor.
Ms. Lampasas,
I in favor.
Mr. Lassane,
Aye, in favor.
and I'm in favor as well. So that's 7 in favor and none opposed. So that items number 1 and 2 passes. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wilson, and thank you, Mr. Hellman, for y'all's work on this property and your good efforts for the city of Charleston.
Thank you.
Likewise, thank you.
The next item is an ordinance amendment. Before we do that, Chris, I had a question.
Charlie,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a question. Is it possible for us to do the zoning item number one, the Riverland Drive, and then come back to the ordinance amendment? Just because I know there may be some discussion about it and no reason to hold up Mr. Lira.
Yeah, and I don't know that he's even signed up to speak, so, or even going to be here, but that's okay. We can take that. I have no issue with that. I did have a question from Mr. Morgan, just curious. The property on, when we think about accommodations, I call it the 7-Eleven on State Street, is that being built now as accommodations?
The 7-Eleven, I'm not aware
7-Eleven.
that any changing on that. You mean the one that is right
Smith, I think.
over here across the street from this?
Yeah, Mr. Smith's property, I believe.
I'm not aware that there's any change on that at present. Are you seeing some construction activity there?
No, I thought I saw something. I thought I saw a sign that said there would be some accommodations. But maybe I'm wrong. I was just walking or jogging by there and I thought I saw that, but it might have been, I was lightheaded when I read it or something, as I do quite often in the heat, but.
I think there have been some discussions about that, but to my knowledge, they have not moved forward with an accommodations request there. They do have accommodations overlay on that property because here you can see it. That's the convenience store property, but they have not moved forward on one. There is a new hotel, of course, that's been built right here at Lingard State that's near.
Right across.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate it. So
Sure.
we'll go ahead with Ms. Harrison's request, and I think that's reasonable. We'll do the zoning number one, which is 233 Riverland Drive, Riverland Terrace, James Island, TMS number 343-05-00029, approximately 0.27 acres. Request zoning a single family residential SR1 zone, single family residential R4 in Charleston County. Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, so this is a pending annexation. And it was R4 in Charleston County, and typically that transfers to our SR1. And in this neighborhood, you see that the parcels we've annexed are SR1. This is adjacent to another SR1. I know the color is a little bit hard to see on this, but that is SR1, and it's adjacent via this corner touch. And so it is coming into the city, and we're recommending SR1. It's a single family house. It's in the suburban area in the comp plan. Here's an image of the house from an aerial. So we're recommending that approval.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. And Chloe, again, I don't see anyone signed up to speak in favor, against, or the applicant to speak. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Great. Thank you. That being said, that'll close the public aspect of this. Commission members, Ms. Harrison, you want to take this on, or?
I'll go ahead and make a motion for approval.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Harrison. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein. If there's no other comments or question, we'll do a roll call vote on this item. And Mr. Bailey,
I in favor.
great. Ms. Bryant Jenkins,
I in favor.
Ms. Harrison,
I in favor.
great. Ms. Jacobs,
I in favor.
great. Ms. Lampasas,
I in favor.
Mr. Hussein,
I in favor.
and I'm in favor as well. So that's 7 in favor and none opposed. So that item passes. The last item, I believe, on our agenda is ordinance amendment number 1. An ordinance to amend Article 3 Site Regulations, Part 11, One Family Attached Dwellings of Chapter 54 of the Code of City of Charleston zoning ordinance to add regulations for one family attached dwellings in a GB zone district. Mr. Morgan, will Mr. Batchelder, will Lee Batchelder be addressing this? or-
Yes, Mr.
Great.
Batchelder will be presenting this.
Mr. Lee, you go whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. So this ordinance is intended to modify the existing regulations that we have for what we call one-family attached dwellings in our zoning ordinance. Those are townhouse units that sit on fee simple lots. And these rules have been on the books for many years, and many projects throughout the city have been developed using these rules. The reason for the amendment is to accommodate higher densities of these types of units on general business zone properties. So we've got a number of vacant or underutilized shopping centers in the city. The best known one, I think, that we on the city staff know of is the Cross Creek Shopping Center on James Island, Folly Road. That the back portion of that shopping center has sat largely vacant for a number of years, and different people have looked at ways to develop that property. And recently a proposal came forward to redevelop the property using one family attached dwellings. So they would demolish all of that surface parking and the buildings at the back of the property and replace them with a new residential development. And that proposal was reviewed several times by the city, and eventually a proposal came forward that was presented to folks in the city administration. They liked the proposal, and a review was held amongst our members of the technical review committee to look at that proposal and offer comments. And the general response was that the city liked that proposal, but that the rules that we have today could not accommodate that proposal. So we, in an effort to accommodate what that proposal entails, have come up with a set of modifications really to our existing rules, modifications shown in red on this proposed ordinance amendment. And it's a way to, I guess, surgically modify our existing rules to specifically allow higher densities of these types of dwelling units in these general business zone properties. And so we've come up with this modified set of rules. If you go to the next page, there's more. And then probably the last page, you'll see a number of additional standards that I've added. So in doing a higher density development, there are certain things that we think are necessary to be careful. We don't have a development at the end of the day that doesn't look good and doesn't accommodate the needs of the people who will eventually live there. So we've got usable open space requirements and through block pedestrian path requirements and things like that we wouldn't have for the other zoning districts. And so we think this set of rules will accommodate a worthy redevelopment of this property in a way that will benefit the community over there. And I don't know if Christopher has anything to add to that. I don't know if Christopher saw the proposal or maybe in a different meeting that I did, but anyway, we hope that you'll recommend approval of this request.
Thank you, Mr. Betts. Mr. Morgan, did you have anything else?
I just wanted to add that this is such a good ordinance amendment to have, because this is all about encouraging that missing middle type of housing that we've been talking about a lot, that is fundamentally a little bit more affordable than the average, single family house is. And I think it's going to help create more diverse housing opportunities in our city, as well as encourage redevelopment of some of these excessively large parking areas we see along some of our commercial corridors like Folly Road, Sam Rittenberg, Savannah Highway, and all that. So we're super excited about it and hope this is going to be helpful to those efforts.
Great, thank you. I'm just curious, how many, I know they hadn't have any plans, how many units do you think possibly could be built on that property? I mean, I think it's great because those people would shop and doing business to those places, and it's great to have people working around, living around there. How many you think would be units possibly?
That's an excellent question. The zoning, the general business zoning would allow up to 26.4 units per acre just by right. And doing a one-family attached development where you have to set aside some open space, where you have to provide streets, means that you end up with a lower density. And the density that I think you'd achieve with this set of rules would be, I would say, approximately 12 to 14 units per acre.
And how many acres is that property roughly?
That property is, let me just see here. It's 4.5 acres.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead. And Christopher, you have anything else? I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
Okay.
that was all I wanted
So,
to say.
and amazingly, I don't see anyone signed up to speak or any written comments. I'm surprised by that, but that's okay. That being said, that's to close the public aspect of this, and commission members, questions, comments?
I have one question.
Yes, Ms. Harrison, you go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Lestane had his hand up first. I did not realize, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You know, Ms. Harrison, you go ahead.
Ms. Harrison, you got it.
No, beauty before age. So you go ahead.
I would say wisdom.
How about that?
I'm going to give Harry Lestane wisdom.
Ms. Harrison, you go ahead.
So I had one question, Lee. I know that a couple of months, maybe earlier this year, we passed the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. And I know that the old ordinance addresses accessory buildings. And then, of course, in this new part, it says essentially additional dwellings are not allowed. And it still maintains the limitation that it can only be 100 feet. And so, you know, understanding that this ordinance is supposed to address kind of this missing middle, but with respect to those, you know, those single family attached dwelling type housing stocks that are currently in existence, does it make sense, you know, to at least consider the ADU portion of the ordinance being wrapped into this type of ordinance so that we can get a little bit more of those missing middles in some of those older town and row home, patio home styles that are already existing and potentially could, you know, support something, you know, less than 850 square feet.
It may make sense to do that, but not on this particular proposal, because, and the reason being that the lot size requirements for this type of development are very small, and there's limited opportunities for parking. And I guess maybe you could do the parking through some community parking lots in the neighborhood, possibly, but I'm not sure that type of accessory dwelling would work on these types of developments, because again, it's just very tight. If you're taking maximum advantage of these rules, it may be practical to do that on newer one-family attached dwelling developments in other zoning districts where you have larger lots and you have maybe more opportunity to provide the required additional parking space for that ADU. But I think it would be difficult to achieve in this particular, in the developments that this is intended to allow.
Thank you, Lee. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Harrison. Mr. Lestane?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that was a very good question. And I think, you know, as a practical matter, it might be difficult, but just to clarify the answer, Lee, that wouldn't be prohibited under this ordinance.
Well, an ADU, yes, would be prohibited.
Okay.
This would not be permitted. And you know, we could take a look at doing something along those lines. Maybe, I don't know. It becomes problematic because I think typically these are going to be in areas, although maybe there's bus service on these properties. I don't know. We'd have to look at that. I think the direction I was going is maybe we don't require a parking space for ADUs in these. but I'm not sure that would be practical either. I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you. I thought that was a good question, but I just wanted to speak in favor of the ordinance amendment and kind of echo what Mr. Morgan said. The example of the Cross Creek Shopping Center is a very good one. That was when it was the medical office complex was built on the front of that site. I don't know, that has to have been 10 or 12 years ago. It was a project of much discussion on James Island, and I think it served the community very, very well. And I think the addition of residential opportunity on that lot is a really great example of our city staff and our city government making policy that produces a really great outcome. And I know that part of the city at that intersection of Folly and Maybank has also been a topic of much discussion and some criticism of city policy. But I think what's being attempted here makes a truly will make a truly successful mixed use development. You'll have very nice missing middle type residential with retail and office uses, people living hopefully and working on the same site, walking across a lot to go to work. I just think it's wonderful. So as a James Islander, I'm super happy about this. So thank you. And I will move for approval.
And I will second Mr. Lassane's motion and echo his comments. I'm really excited to see that we're getting creative about doing that missing middle work in the city.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Lee, or Chris, I had a question. How many, I know this property fits in well with this. Do y'all identify other ones that, just curious, do you see many others in the West Ashley, James Island area that would tie into this?
West Ashley in particular and the Sam Rittenberg corridor in microcosm, I guess you could say, we are very interested in seeing if this could work to encourage some redevelopment over there, because we've got just acres of asphalt parking that's never used. We still have some retail that has viability, but if you can add some residential to those areas, and that's also, as you all might remember from the new comprehensive plan, that's also an area that has very high elevation. So it's good for denser development as well.
Even on Sam Rittenberg, on the frontage of some of those commercial areas, I guess they could do that, huh?
And with the green spaces and open spaces that, the ordinance talks about here, that helps make it a more conducive environment too.
Win-win situation.
And Plan West Ashley really advocated for that sort of creativity along Sam Rittenberg Boulevard, and was sort of the basis of why they put a TIF district along that boulevard to hopefully, with the activation of revitalization there, and this could help promote that.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. So we have a motion by Mr. Sane, a second by Ms. Jacobs. Any other comments, questions? I don't want to cut any commission members off if they'd like to speak on this item. If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
I in favor.
Mr. Bailey, you've been pretty quiet today, so I'm just making sure, that's all. Ms. Bryant Jenkins?
I in favor.
Great, Ms. Harrison?
I in favor.
Great, Ms. Jacobs?
I in favor.
Ms. Lampasas?
I in favor.
Ms. Hossain?
Aye, in favor.
Great, I'm in favor as well, so that's 7 in favor, none opposed. That completes, that's 7-0 on that one, so that passes. So that completes the agenda. Ms. Jacobs had asked to make a comment regarding some action at City Council last night. I was going to allow her to do that if she'd like to. You're muted, I think.
Actually moving to that, I'm sorry. I'd written Christopher and Mr. Karish earlier today because I watched City Council last night. And for those of you who did not watch Council last night, it was an overwhelming experience, to be honest with you. And I woke up extremely impacted by what I saw with what happened with citizens' participation. And I wrote this little letter that I wanted to share with all of y'all today. It's got nothing to do directly with us, but I just wanted to share this little letter. Dear fellow commissioners and staff, I watched the city council meeting last night and was a bit overwhelmed by the explosion of what I call high conflict that happened during citizens' participation. High Conflict is the new book by an author, Amanda Ripley, that explores the concept of high conflict and how we navigate out of it. It might need to be a required reading for all of us who work by election or by appointment in the public realm. The council did an amazing job to listen to all of the acrimony and then continue with the hard work of our city. The staff was there for a very long meeting, assisting them when questions were asked. I felt compelled to write to you and thank all of you. As commissioners, we volunteer our time to serve the city. We love even in the face for some of our personal and our family medical situations. As staff, you work diligently to serve the community and assist us to make our decisions. And to all of you, it's an honor to serve with you. And I felt it was important to say, because last night was a pretty terrific thing to witness. And I know that Christopher, I don't know if you stayed after you did all your work, but it was something else to watch. And I just felt like it was time to say thank you and show some appreciation to everybody for all their hard work.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, very well said, Ms. Jacobs. Any other questions, comments from commission members? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? Ms. Jacobs, I heard you nod, so that's good. So thank you all for everyone. And I hope everyone stays cool for this summer. It sounds like we'll be probably meeting, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, I like to see y'all all, but with this epidemic continuing to thrive, it sounds like we'll be meeting via Zoom for a while. So Mr. Morgan, is that correct?
That is correct, at least into October. And then we are still awaiting a scheduling. Again, not 100% sure of the format, but hopefully it is a virtual meeting for the joint workshop with council and you all for the second joint workshop with council and you all. We anticipate that coming in early September, but we still don't have dates from the clerk. They're having to scramble because not only are they having to find remote locations that are large enough for 2 council meetings a month, but now hopefully that one will be virtual. But anyway, they've got a lot of scheduling to be doing.
Thank you.
Just
Go ahead.
one quick question. Do you think it will be on a normal council day, like a Tuesday, or would it be on,
I think it will be on
looking at
a day that's different because typically on a normal council day, they have their regular committees. So I think it'll be like a Thursday, maybe a Wednesday, that kind of thing.
But we'll get plenty of heads up, I'm sure, on that.
Yeah, so it'll be at least, a couple of weeks in advance, I think.
Great.
Okay, perfect.
So thank you everyone for your thank you everyone for your time, and please stay safe. Please stay safe out there. So thank you.